Okay, welcome back to the Anisha and Sunjay show. So previously we were talking about our new exciting adventures into our podcast newsletter and our amazing podcast community that we've started. And we were left with the dilemma of where we're going to find the time to do all of this. So we've thought long and hard about that. And the solution is, Anisha?
I'm quitting Instagram. I'm doing it. Actually, I've kind of done it. I've stopped posting. And it was really hard because I love my Instagram community. But at the same time, I'm quite frustrated because I've calculated how many hours I spend creating content for Instagram, trying to understand the algorithm, creating content that will allow my reels and posts and carousels to go way further than they currently are. And I've been posting regularly, and when I say regularly, at least 5 to 6 times a week for nearly 4 years. And I might get 2 or 3 followers a week. And I'm really sad about that because I think the content is really valuable. I definitely have a very niche target audience of pharmacists, pharmacy students, professionals, healthcare professionals that would potentially like the content. Now podcasters as well. But that return on investment when it comes to the amount of time I'm putting into Instagram, I'm just not seeing the return. And because we have so many exciting projects that we're working on, I need to make some decisions about what has to be let go. And I feel like Instagram is a good way for me to strip back several hours of time per week and then put that focus elsewhere. Have you been thinking about how you can support your health and well-being journey, but you don't know where to start, or you're confused about all the products that are available? Well, I have a solution for you. I've been working alongside a company called The Naked Pharmacy. They're offering you a 20% discount on all of your purchases using the code THEASS, THEASS. Head on over to thenakedpharmacy.com and treat yourself to something new.
Yes. The trouble with Instagram is that it's not instant. The name is misleading, right? It takes a lot of time to post and create, schedule, edit, all of the stuff all the kind of content that we've been posting, especially when it comes to reels and videos and short form content. It's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. And you're right. We enjoy it. So don't get us wrong. We love it. It's one of those things that, just like everyone else, we're addicted, right? We're addicted to the scroll. We do. And we've had to work hard to stopping us from getting too sucked into that. And I think, the coaching that we've been on and the various things we talk about when it comes to our wellness and health have helped us with that. But we still succumb to it. I find myself in that same boat. But I've actually been experimenting with periods off Instagram over the last couple of years where I'll take, months off at a time. And I know I'm not the first person to do this. I know a lot of people have started to do this. But what I found in those periods when I'm not on Instagram is just how much less noise there is in my life, in my world, right? I find that I have more time, more space, all of these things that we are craving. And I could put my energies into different projects and different ideas. So when it came to thinking about what do we really, really want to do, and the problem with what was happening with Instagram was that all we were doing in terms of content, let's be honest, and you were doing slightly, I'll take that back, you were doing something slightly different, but mainly what we were already doing is repurposing content that was already recorded, and they were all podcast episodes. So all we were doing is just basically recycling podcast episodes and posting them onto Instagram in the hope that that's going to help us grow our channel. Now, I don't want to sit here and bash Instagram or the Instagram algorithm. I believe that every platform that's out there is different. I believe that if you study how to be successful on each of those platforms, you will be successful if you follow the blueprint, because I know people that have done that and they have been successful on those platforms. What I've spent a lot of my time learning about has been creating video content, but we haven't actually created any bespoke, specific video content for platforms. Like I've said, it's just been recycled. So by stopping Instagram, it takes away the main kind of avenue that where we were kind of recycling this content, and we were doing it in a hope. Let's be honest, we were doing it in a hope to get more followers. That's what a lot of people want. They want there, and I think that's wrong. That was also the wrong reason for being there. So I think first of all, our whole reason for being on Instagram was incorrect. I think what we are trying to do with the community. So if you haven't listened to that episode, listen to the previous episode. We talk about this new community that we're building. The new community gives us a chance to make specific content that people want to hear, i.e. our community, right? So we're not going out to Instagram and saying, hey, the whole world, it's 5-6 billion people. What do you want to, we'll make? Well, no, it's not going to work, right? Let's find the people. Let's find our tribe. Let's find the people that are listening to us, the people that are resonating with us, people that want to learn from us. And let's find out what they want to learn, because we can help to create that content. And that's exactly what we're going to use this community for, right? We're going to create specific content that's dedicated to some of their problems. And that may or may not be relevant to people on Instagram and YouTube and all these other platforms. So I think that's the main thing. So stopping that complete train of thought of pre-production, post-production when it comes to Instagram frees up so much time, right? It frees up so much time that we can start thinking about making dedicated content for not only our community, but YouTube. YouTube's something we've been on for several years as well. And actually, we've seen growth on there, but we haven't really focused on it solely. We haven't actually just said, right, we're going to focus purely on YouTube. So there's also that. And then the platform that surprised me the most, which I believe that we're both getting the most success on, and our recent newsletters just proved that to us, is LinkedIn. Right? I personally know, I think I've neglected LinkedIn, and you've done a lot more than I have. But recently I've started to post a little bit more consistently on LinkedIn, text posts and video posts, and I'm seeing a lot more engagement. And that's what prompted me to look at the data. So I actually looked at our data for all of our accounts that we have between us. And I only looked at the last 90 days. And I think this was back in April time. So we're looking from the beginning of the year till around March, April this year. And in that time, LinkedIn had grown in terms of percentage of followers, engagement, and all the stats that they give you. YouTube had grown several percent on terms of watch time hours, subscribers, and engagement. But Instagram was in negative. Instagram for you, for followers, was minus 0.8 or something like that, and mine was like minus 1.5. So that just goes to show that if in 90 days, these other two accounts are growing and potentially flourishing and one isn't, we're doing something wrong, right? I'm not saying it's Instagram's that's wrong. We're doing something wrong when it comes to that platform. So rather than trying to figure that out right now, let's just put a pause on that. So yeah, saying and titling this episode saying we quit Instagram is true, but we're not quitting forever, right? And when we have the headspace, hopefully the budget and the capacity to hire someone who is an expert at that platform and say, look, here's our content. Can you make us successful on that platform? That's what I would rather do at some point in the future. Whereas now I'm getting a lot more enjoyment. We're getting a lot more success. And let's be brutal about this. We're making more money through LinkedIn and potentially YouTube, right, than we are through Instagram. So that's the other side of this coin, is obviously the monetization. And we said in the previous episode that our next phase of our podcast journey is how do we monetize this? How do we monetize this platform that we've created? So we're already doing that through you getting some speaking gigs via LinkedIn. We got some conferences that we went to film, where we've done events on their behalf. That's all generated revenue. Then obviously we've got our affiliate links and our partnership with people like Naked Pharmacy, which has been going out on YouTube. It's going out through the podcast. And, that's starting to generate income, and that's giving us the confidence. And like I said earlier, the reassurance that, oh yeah, we need to kind of go double down on these platforms. So that's going to be our focus. And I think it's going to be really exciting because you're going to see different type of content coming out from us, rather than just seeing this. And I don't find this boring at all when we just share podcast clips and we talk about some really good and relevant things. But I'm quite excited to start to think about different ways of creating for us, because this is this is also a comfort zone for us, right? Coming in here, turning the cameras on, doesn't matter how many, you've got 3 cameras now looking at us right now, microphones. it's still the same. It's still the same motions, right? We're still going through the same motions, but actually interrupting that pattern is going to help us not only come up with better ideas, but also hopefully just to be more creative.
Yeah, definitely. And so many things resonate with me now that you put that so well into conversation. I love that. But when we first started the podcast with Pharmacist Diaries, we decided to have social media channels everywhere because we obviously thought that this would help our growth on all platforms, and we wanted to see which platforms did the best, which ones we had the most engagement, which ones provided us that community aspect that we were looking for. And because we've been, again, diving just so deep into production and recording and editing and getting everything out in terms of all the different social media platforms, we haven't really had that much time to sit back and genuinely reflect on what we double down on. And I've been watching a few webinars recently, and every single time I log into these webinars, someone will always mention that you should focus your time on the kind of top 5% of activities that will give you that return on investment. And every time I hear that, I'm trying to think, okay, where does that come from? Where is my top 5%? Where should I focus? And obviously the podcast is definitely one of them. But I realized from a social media point of view that, forget the followers, I just didn't have any engagement on Instagram, and it was so lonely. I just kept posting and posting and posting. And you're right, I did create a lot of clips for Instagram that were repurposed from the podcast, but I also created so many quotes, carousel posts. I advertised lots of things that I was working on. I did behind the scenes footage, images of us, like when we're kind of working, family life, my commute, all of that. And I would get lots of likes, but I just wouldn't get really that much attention in terms of chat. And that engagement piece is really, really important. But when you look at LinkedIn, I mean, I could post something and get 10,000 impressions and, 40, 50 comments, likes, people start DMing me and, giving me feedback on the podcast episodes, what they loved, what they didn't like, what they would like to see more of. And so now I feel like it's really important for me to hone in on that and understand that actually my audience like me on this platform. I genuinely like LinkedIn. And even in the last 2 weeks, I've been getting all these YouTube comments. I never had any YouTube comments. And now suddenly all of these comments are coming through. And it's giving me the reassurance that obviously the episodes are resonating with people. They feel inspired. They're really grateful that I've educated them on something specific. The Australia episode has been really popular because people are excited about adventure and traveling abroad. So that's giving me more motivation to find specific content that actually resonates with my audience within Pharmacist Diaries. Because up until now, I've been recording podcast episodes with people that I genuinely think are super interesting and that I think my audience are going to like. But without that connection and that community and that feedback, you're putting out content that you just genuinely believe they might enjoy. But now I have a community. I'm building that kind of space where people tell me exactly what they want from me. And that will obviously help my podcast growth. The connections I've made on LinkedIn in terms of friendships are incredible. And that's people from all over the globe. And when I go onto LinkedIn as a platform, just to use it for fun, there is so much educational content that I learn just from scrolling. And it's not just me looking at the lives of individuals through Instagram. I genuinely feel like I'm inspired. Someone's taught me something new. Someone's given me something to debate in my brain in terms of critical thinking. And that has been a really positive journey for me as well.
Absolutely.
And also, short form content takes so much more time to create than our longer podcast episodes. And when I was doing everything manually in terms of making clips, the amount of hours that I now have back is just, it's quite shocking for me that I was so immersed in creating content in Instagram because I felt I needed to do it because my community was there. And I also love the app. But now I genuinely enjoy creating horizontal video, by the way. I much prefer horizontal video on LinkedIn, and people watch it and they genuinely respond and comment on what I've put out there, which is nice.
I just think that the people that we are trying to reach are living on LinkedIn just a little bit more than they are on Instagram. I'm not saying they're not on Instagram. I just don't think we've found the right avenue in which to reach them. Whereas on LinkedIn, for whatever reason, maybe just from sheer just having been done it for long, a lot of people now, and I've seen this from the work I'm doing in my day-to-day job, is that a lot of businesses are now getting into podcasting. They're creating podcasts for their businesses. And where do business people tend to hang out? On LinkedIn. And when you are there talking about podcasts and creating podcasts and I think that's where we're getting a lot more engagement, because genuinely people, like I said earlier, are interested in what we have to say. Whereas on platforms like, Instagram, there's a lot of noise as well when it comes to that. And it's very hard to know, who's who. With LinkedIn, it's a little bit different. You have to, connection requests are done differently, and sometimes you have to have people's email addresses, and there's just a little bit more quality assurance, if you like, that goes into that process. So it's a bit of pattern interrupt, right? We talked about this earlier about just interrupting our workflow and pattern. We're so used to going onto Instagram, and it's been difficult, right? When we've been on holiday since we've given up LinkedIn on holidays, we've been like on day trips out. My muscle memory has gone to, I'll quickly put a picture on the stories. But no, I've had to stop myself from doing it. But even that has given me back so much. It's given me back that moment where I would have just got my camera out and snapped it and probably spent, it feels like 2 seconds, but you're probably there for 10 minutes, right? Think about that. You're out on a day out with a family and you think, quick snap for the stories. And it's not a quick snap. You're there 10 minutes adding stickers, and I've seen you do it, and you probably seen me do it, and you're literally in the zone. You don't know what's going on around you, just like our kids are when they're watching TV, right? We're no different. And 10, 15 minutes later, you've just posted one story, and then the rest of your day, in the back of your mind, and we all do it, and you can deny it all you want, is you're thinking, how many people like that story? How many people watched that story? How many did I get any hearts on that story? That's what we do. It's a drug. Right. So to not have that as well has just given me back so much in the moment. And I had a conversation with my good friend Nick Feeney, who also weirdly, he announced on Instagram that he was quitting Instagram. And I reached out to him immediately and just to say, hey, I hear you and I'm on the same journey. And since then I met up with him face to face. And he was saying a similar thing. It was just for him, he was trying to launch his business, his coaching business, win clients as well. And linked to Instagram just wasn't the place where he was getting that level of engagement. Whereas when he was posting, infrequently on LinkedIn, the level of engagement and the level of response he got was just so much higher. So it's not just, we're not the only ones who are going through this kind of this journey. And I think it's okay to just take a step back and go, do you know what? I'm okay. I'm good. I'm good with that right now. I'm good with just doing things over here. Because we've seen it with some of our favorite creators that we follow, right? So for example, I watch a lot of YouTube, and there's a lot of creators I follow on YouTube who have millions and millions of followers. And then randomly their Instagram account will come up, or I would have gone onto their Instagram account on purpose because it would have maybe come up as a pop-up. And I see that on Instagram, compared to the millions they've got on YouTube, they haven't even got like 10,000 followers. So does that suddenly mean that they're rubbish? No, it just means that they're clearly not putting the effort into Instagram because they're getting all the success on YouTube, and that's where they are a success and they've found their platform, right? So I think we've got to stop spinning too many plates when it comes to social media and just pick the one or two things that are really going to work. And the last thing I want to say on this is the most important thing you can do, and this is what I wish we had done from day one, is create your own community from day one. And this is what we're now trying to do with our Behind the Mic community on Circle, is build your own social network, right? Because that way, so whether that's an email newsletter, that's probably the easiest low-hanging fruit, right? Start an email newsletter, which we obviously have now for Pharmacist Diaries. We have our newsletter on LinkedIn for Behind the Mic. But start that. And even if you've only got 4 or 5 people on there, they're going to be more engaged than if you had 50,000 followers on another platform, for example. So, create your own network. I think that's probably the wisest thing that you could do if you're starting. It doesn't matter actually where you are in your journey, but especially if you're starting out, that's probably something I wish we'd done from day one.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've spent a month really diving deep into LinkedIn. I've probably gained over 1,500 connections in that month. I have got more kind of DMs from pharmacists who would like to come onto my podcast than I can cope with. I'm actually saying to people that I will connect with you in a month or two because there are so many people who want to come onto the podcast and share their journey now that it's actually difficult to keep up. Obviously created the newsletter with well over 1,000 subscribers within 3 to 4 days, which was just amazing and just mind-blowing. And I've started making connections with people that is going to end up monetizing the podcast, whether it's kind of ambassador roles or affiliates, public speaking, and actually sponsored podcast series. All of that has come through LinkedIn. And this summer, we've got the potential of taking this podcast on tour and going to another country and actually recording multiple episodes with pharmacists abroad. And so that is super exciting. Like I'm like, wow, like in a month, all of that has happened. And I've spent years on Instagram and felt a little bit frustrated. So Instagram, I'm going to say goodbye to you for a few months and watch the space and see when I come back.
Yeah, you touched on the sponsorship and monetization there. So after this short break, I want to come back and just say a few points about that. Navigating the supplement market can be a bit of a nightmare. I know as a personal trainer, I used to get asked questions about this all of the time. Well, this is why we've teamed up with the Naked Pharmacy. Anisha, tell us why we've decided to team up with Naked Pharmacy and what's so special about them.
Well, the CEO and founder of the Naked Pharmacy is a pharmacist. And just like me, I want to support someone within my own profession. But I'm super excited that he's got 40 years of experience within natural medicines and is sourcing his ingredients, which are completely plant-based. There's no artificial ingredients within the products that he uses. And he's sourcing them from the most incredible places on the planet. And I've been using the products myself personally and really enjoying them, so I recommend them to you as well.
So head on over to the Naked Pharmacy and we've got an exclusive deal for you. You get 20% off all of your Naked Pharmacy purchases using the code THEASS. That's THEASS. You'll find all the links in the show notes for this episode. Okay, welcome back to the Anisha and Sunjay show. Anisha laughs every time I say that.
I do love it, but I still feel like it's because I'm just so into Pharmacist Diaries. And now when I try to, welcome back to the Anisha and Sunjay show. Let me try it one more time.
You're not Kansas anymore.
Okay. Welcome back to the Anisha and Sunjay show.
Why'd you have to be so cheesy? And
That's who I am.
Welcome back to this. Just be yourself.
Okay, let me try it one more time. Welcome back to the Anisha and Sunjay show.
Yeah, that's better.
Now you can leave that in there for the whole podcast and see which one people like. Okay. We'll ask for feedback.
All right, maybe I'll just do 2 different versions and see which one gets most. No, A/B test it like Stephen does. Talking of Stephen, he's very good at monetizing his podcast. And I've been watching him very closely from that perspective. How is this guy who's very, very good at marketing, whatever you think of him, there's a lot of split opinions about Stephen Bartlett, but one thing he's very, very good at is marketing and monetizing things. And one of the things he does with no shame or no kind of guilt is advertising, right? Advertising his own services, his own products, his own channels, as well as a lot of the partners that he's invested in and other sponsors. Now, one thing I do like about Stephen Bartlett, and there's probably a couple of other creators that I would put into that category. Rich Roll is another one. The products that they talk about on their podcast episodes are things that they either personally use or are heavily invested in, right? They're not just promoting a service or a product for the sake of the check. So I like the fact that you can almost trust that if they are going to recommend something, it's something that they've used or something that they aligns with their values, aligns with their kind of morals as well. And you're not just going to get some random product. So along the same lines, this is kind of how we've started our journey when it comes to kind of finding partnerships and sponsorships. And I guess the first one people would be familiar with is the Naked Pharmacy. which of course came as a result of, Kevin Levers, the CEO and founder, coming on the podcast, on Pharmacist Diaries podcast. And just from hearing his story and how he built the brand and the kind of the ethics behind it, the whole sustainability behind it, it was something that really resonated with us. So it was a no-brainer for us to say, yeah, we'd love to kind of partner with someone like this and promote your products. And hopefully we get a little bit of a kickback on that. So, first of all, I want to say thank you to everyone who has clicked the link and used the code on your one. It's PD20 or the THEASS for Anisha and Sunjay. But just to say thank you, because by doing that, you'll hopefully have got something of great value, which in this case are some really amazing supplements that are really helpful and helpful to your health in many, many ways. And it's helped you in your health and well-being journey. And at the same time, you can go to bed knowing that you've done something kind, which is give us a few pennies in return. And those pennies just go towards making this production better and bigger, having more guests, having better content that we could put out to our community as well as to our podcast listeners as well. And that's a really important part of this journey. So, I have no shame in just saying straight up that you're going to see more of these types of partnerships cropping up over the next few episodes and certainly over the next few months. If you're watching us on YouTube, which hopefully you are, you're subscribed to the YouTube channel by now. But if you're not, I'd love for you to go over and just hit that button. It really does help us. And I know it's cheesy and everyone says this, but it really does help us, because it helps us if we're trying to get more sponsorship deals. If we're trying to bring better products to our listeners. If there are other products out there, we think, do you know what? I'd love to kind of offer a discount for those products. If you've subscribed, as whether this is right or wrong, those potential sponsors are looking at those type of metrics, right? They're looking at how many subscribers have you got, how many people watch your videos. So by doing that, by just that simple act, by just hitting that like or that subscribe button, it helps. It puts us one more step towards doing that with better and bigger products, and that's something that we hope to bring to you. So so thank you to all the people that have helped out. And that's going to be something, as I said, we're going to do going forward. For our community, we're going to extend that out to, I'm going to sit down over the next, very, very soon actually, and put together a kind of a list of podcasting equipment, gear, equipment that you can use, and stuff that I'm not going to recommend anything that I haven't either personally used or I don't know, or something that I don't know enough about. I'm going to talk about and recommend things that I think this is definitely going to level up your podcast production, or this is definitely going to level up where you are in your journey. So there'll be equipment lists, there'll be software and services. So a lot of the services and software that we use to produce this podcast, a lot of them will be AI based. So watch out for those. But we're going to just try and get as many discounts for those types of products to you as possible. Because again, when I was at that stage in my journey, if I had someone saying, hey, use this service and get 10 or 20% off, it would have saved us a hell of a load of money. And it still would have, even now, if someone wants to offer us an affiliate link on some of the services we use, we'll happily take it, because it does save you in the long run. So we are going to be bringing a lot more of those. As I said, stay tuned. You'll no doubt see them. We're going to try and make it as respectful as possible. Look, honest truth is, people don't like ads, and I appreciate that. Having said that, we have looked at some very interesting research recently that says that podcast audiences are more receptive to advertising than other mediums and other formats, because often we're used to it from the beginning. A lot of the big creators that you would listen to already are putting adverts in their podcasts. I mean, Joe Rogan's the first podcast I probably ever listened to, going way back when. And, the first 10, 15 minutes of his episodes were just purely adverts. So we're already in this mindset of listening to them. And also there's that level of trust. Like I said, we often trust the creators that we listen to, and we value their opinion because we spend so much time listening to them, right? If someone's doing a 2-hour, 3-hour podcast and you listen every week, then you're spending a lot of time listening to that person, and you must have built up some level of trust. And for us, and for me, it's important that I don't abuse that trust. That's something I've always been very careful of, even when I've been a personal trainer, when I've been a health coach. I don't want to abuse someone's trust, and I want to make sure that everything I say or I recommend or I put forward as advice, is valid and is not just hyperbole. Hyperbole, is that the word? Is not just hot air. So that's really important from my side.
For me, Pharmacist Diaries and thinking about advertising or sponsorship or working in partnership with brands, it has to align with me as an individual and what my brand wants to do. And interviewing Kevin and hearing his journey and hearing that story behind his brand resonated with me so much that I wanted to see him rise. And it's the same with any partnership that I have with any pharmacist. I mean, there's so many times I've posted on LinkedIn and other social media to help others grow or give them a new audience or support them with selling a product or a service that they have, because that's what community is all about. And it makes me feel so good knowing that I personally purchase the Naked Pharmacy products for myself every single month. And they're really good and I really enjoy using them and I'm seeing a lot of benefit from using them. But I also feel really happy that I've supported my friend and that I'm helping his business to grow and reach different audiences as well, and especially within the pharmacy space. So yeah, I feel really grateful that I've got this partnership. I feel really satisfied advertising the Naked Pharmacy brand because there is so much value and there's a personal story behind it too.
Have you thought about starting your own podcast? Or have you started your own podcast and are struggling along the journey? If that sounds like you, Anisha and I have started our very own podcasting newsletter. It's called Behind the Mic and you'll find it over on LinkedIn. Go on over to Anisha's LinkedIn profile and you'll find the newsletter there. Alternatively, you could check the link in the show notes for this episode.